I have here one of our most popular residents here at the Nature Center, Maize the corn snake. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about corn snakes first of all, before we get into his cool adaptations. Corn snakes don't really live in Pennsylvania. We're a little too far north for them. They live in the southeast, sometimes as far north as Delaware, but they mostly live down south of here. Okay, so not in Pennsylvania, but there are some close cousins of the snake around here, something called a rat snake. There's some other snakes that look kind of similar too, but the rat snake is their closest relative around here. Anyway, Maize has been at the Nature Center for a few years, but he is about 16 or so years old in all. He lived with somebody else before he came here. And let me just show you a little bit about him. So you'll notice that he's a nice orange color. Corn snakes don't really look like this in the wild. They have a lot more brown coloration on their skin. He is missing a color called melanin, which is what would give him more of that brownish color in the wild. But corn snakes that look like this are pretty popular as pets. So you'll see a lot that are kind of this orange color. Just know, though, that when they live in the wild, they're a slightly different color. They're a little bit darker than this. Okay, now let's move on to his adaptations. So snakes have a few different ways of getting their food. Okay, we have some snakes that are called venomous snakes, some snakes that are called constrictor snakes. Let me go over each category. So first of all, we have about 20 or so species of snakes in Pennsylvania. 3 of those kinds of snakes are considered venomous. Now, oftentimes you'll hear people say they're poisonous, but poisonous isn't quite right. There is a difference between venomous and poisonous. So basically, something that's venomous is something that bites you and injects a toxin into you, like a snake might. Something that's poisonous is something that you eat that is toxic to you. So a snake could be venomous if it bites you and injects venom into your bloodstream. A berry that you might eat that might make you sick, might hurt your stomach or something like that, that is poisonous. Okay? So the venomous bites you, poisonous, you eat it. So that's the difference between venomous and poisonous. So there's no such thing really, at least around here, as a poisonous snake. Those 3 types of snakes that do have that toxin, they are considered venomous. Other than being venomous, a snake can be a constrictor, as I said before. That's a word that you might or might not have heard before, but it's something pretty simple. So instead of actually injecting venom into their prey through their fangs, like a rattlesnake or a copperhead would, a constrictor snake squeezes all the air out of their prey. Now, Maize can't hurt me. He's too small for that. Again, I'm not on his menu. But if we put a frozen or thawed mouse inside of his enclosure here at the Nature Center, he will wrap his body around it because he doesn't really know the difference between a thawed dead mouse and a live mouse necessarily. So he's still going to react the same way as he would in the wild if he saw a mouse. He's going to squeeze around it. And basically, they squeeze all the air out of it, and then they swallow it whole. Now, snakes have some really cool adaptations, a lot of really cool traits that allow them to eat food sometimes much larger than they are. Okay, so they use venom or they use that constriction to get their prey under control to make it more manageable so it doesn't fight back when they try to eat it. But then, once they do get it, once it is manageable, once they can control it, they can actually kind of dislocate their jaws a little bit. So they'll lift up their jaws and they can wrap their heads around something that's much larger than them and swallow it all in one piece. Okay? But not only can they dislocate their jaws actually will move back and forth like this. And every time they go back and forth, it will pull the food a little bit further into their body. It will start to be broken down in their digestive system. One more adaptation, though. They have fangs that face backward, like this. So their fangs aren't forward, they're faced backward. So that means if something gets in their mouth, it can't really pull its way back out. The more it tries to escape, the deeper those teeth will go into the food that it's trying to swallow. Okay? So a few really cool adaptations. So again, Maize is a constrictor. He's not venomous. He won't hurt me. Even if he was a stronger constrictor snake, we're not on their menu, so yeah, nothing to be afraid of here. Now, a few other adaptations, though. How do they find their food? Snakes have a few really cool traits to find their food. So first of all, you'll see if I hold him up close to the camera, he sticks his tongue out a whole lot. Go ahead, Maize, stick your tongue out. He'll stick, there it goes, look at that. So they stick their tongue out to actually smell, okay? So he does have nostrils kind of on top of his face if you look closely here. There you go. He has nostrils, okay? But he uses those for breathing. He has a separate organ that allows him to smell. So he'll stick his tongue out in the air. He picks up these little smell molecules from the air on his tongue. Then he sticks his tongue in the roof of his mouth. And on the top of his mouth, he has something called a Jacobson's organ. And that Jacobson's organ is what processes smell. That's how he's able to smell. So a very different system of smelling things than we use as people, but just as effective. He's able to find his food very well that way. Not only can he do that, though, he also has this other really cool trait where he's able to see heat in his surroundings. He can see what we call infrared energy, heat energy. And there are really two benefits to this adaptation. The first is that most of the food that he's eating, I mean the majority of the food that snakes will be eating, especially around here, is warm-blooded. So he'll be eating mice, like I said before, and other types of rodents. They have warm blood. They are mammals. So if there happens to be a mouse hiding behind a piece of grass or behind a shrub or something like that, or behind this wall here, he can actually see straight through this wall or straight through that shrub, whatever it might be. See the mammal, the warm-blooded mammal that's sitting behind it. So he can kind of see through things. It's not X-ray vision, not quite that cool, but he's able to see the heat signatures that those food items give off. But another benefit to that, there are two benefits. So the first benefit is finding your warm-blooded food. The other benefit is the fact that he has cold blood inside of his body. All snakes have cold blood. So that means they depend on their surroundings to heat them up. So that's why sometimes you'll see snakes basking out in the sun. They'll sit out in a warm space. They'll sit on a rock sometimes that's a little warm, that's been heated up by the sun. That's why inside Maize's enclosure here at the Nature Center, we have a little heating pad and a light, so he's able to stay warm. Okay? So they depend on their environment to heat them up. They can't maintain warm body temperature like we can because we have different processes than they do. They depend on their environment to heat them up. We depend on our metabolism to heat us up. Seeing heat will help you find an area of ground, a rock, like I said before, or an open patch of forest where the sunlight's hitting the floor, somewhere where you can heat up your body. Snakes are very nice creatures, very beneficial. They help to control lots of pests like mice and rats, including the mice that are responsible for Lyme disease. Okay? White-footed mice. White-footed mice transmit it to the ticks and then gets into us sometimes. So snakes are good to have around to control things like that. Thank you very much for watching the first of our videos for this new virtual series that we have at the Nature Center here. There will be more videos coming out after this. We have a whole list of topics that we're hoping to cover. If there's anything that you are interested in particular that you don't see in any of the videos that we're releasing, feel free to reach out to us. I'll put our contact information up here on the screen.